Welcome back. You got Will and Iman here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and MScribe, and today we got another Bitmap Takeover.
Yeah, let's go.
Finally. So it's been 2 weeks since the last time we did this, and...
Yeah, the new year kind of disrupted our flow a bit.
Yeah.
But not to say a lot has happened.
A lot has happened. Gary got, I guess, manipulated.
Right. I'm not sure how that's relevant to I mean, of course, it ripples throughout the entire Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, the SEC got hacked.
Right.
The Twitter account, I should say.
Yeah, but I think by tomorrow we'll know a lot more about these impending happenings.
Right. All right, going back to Bitmap. So we got the price here. It's taking a little dipping. A big deal. Who cares? We got.
What do you mean? Who cares? That was like the biggest thing about Bitmap, dude. Is like it's been crushing the whole NFT space.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's over.
Is it over?
Yeah, Bitmap's over.
Is it?
Yeah, it's done.
Is it like this price tank is?
No, it's it. We got to move on.
It's over?
Yeah.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, it's over. Magic Eden doesn't say it's over. They're still humming along. You got 31.6 thousand users, dude. Holders.
So what? The user count is climbing even though the price is dropping? Right. So what does that mean?
It means discounted bitmaps means more people, right?
I would assume so. I mean, I feel like this is expected. I think Bitmap went on like a multi-month tear, didn't it?
It did.
It was literally a runaway train.
Yeah, it was.
It toppled like some of the biggest NFT projects in the market, and I think it was pretty expected. Like a pullback was much needed.
Oh yeah, right? This is a healthy pullback.
It's very healthy. So,
all right.
So just in case people didn't pick up on your sarcasm, let me clear the air.
I'm so good at it.
I know, dude. You sound so convincing. Like you've already it's like, all right, dude. Let's talk about soul maps instead or something. He's like, that's the next big thing.
Yeah.
This is, if you don't know, it's not done. Bitmap is not over.
Yeah,
it's
but
just normal.
But the thumbnail says it's over, dude.
That was the clickbait, dude.
Yeah.
The idea is to like pull you in with the panic, but there's nothing really to be afraid of.
Yeah, that's right.
This is how crypto.
No, this is how YouTube works.
I know. Yeah, I just wanted to be clear for our like new audience members out there who are like, you might have actually caused some flutters out there, dude. It's like I thought, this was the next thing.
I didn't want to cause market manipulation, so
that's right. Yeah,
apologies.
Your inner Gary's coming out, dude.
All right, so Trevor, Bitmap market cap is bigger than Other Side and Sandbox combined, and it was a free, fair launch on Bitcoin Ordinals with no leader or company behind it. If there are any metaverse builders out there looking for a platform, Bitmap is looking pretty compelling now. That's been our thesis since the drop. Yeah,
people asked us like very early on. It's like, so what? These squares are cool and such, but what is how's this going to contribute to the metaverse?
That's right.
Remember those conversations?
Here we are. It's compelling now, according to Trevor.
Well, what it took, remember that squiggly line you were scoffing at just now? That whole, who cares about the price?
Yeah.
That's the thing that all of a sudden people are like, oh, builders are coming.
Yeah.
That squiggly line.
Yeah.
That market cap.
Really, the market cap. Yeah. But,
right. Yeah. You know what I mean, though. It's like that is the thing that kind of like it turns people's opinions. It literally, it is the like marker of sentiment.
It's the independent way to turn opinions.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Because we were turned on the drop.
Well, there's not even a squiggle.
No squiggles. no colors.
There was no line yet.
No lines. No worlds.
Yeah. But we knew the potential, and at some point, if that squiggle went up and to the right.
Yeah, we knew. Yeah.
That all of a sudden this would have like a much more attractive, elevator pitch to all developers out there, right? There's an ecosystem here.
Now the pitch is it's the biggest metaverse. It's the most valuable. It is the most open.
Yeah. And it's a blank canvas and you can do whatever you want to.
That's right.
So come over here, lads. So good old Alpha from our friend T.O.
Alpha.
Shout out to the ninjas.
Alpha indeed.
Yeah.
All right, Bitmap War. So the war on Bitmap has begun. Today we're excited to unveil a game built on Bitmap called Bitmap War.
Yeah, this was cool. I wish we could kind of like play. They have like a little video down here somewhere. I mean, it's when you think game, don't think like somebody's all of a sudden has built, Halo. Or like Crisis is coming to Bitmap.
Yeah.
No, that's not what this is proposing. This is as rudimentary as like games come, right? But nonetheless, the attempt still has its charm, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's happening on Bitmap.
It's a multiplayer experience. There's like a resource competitive economy aspect to it, and I think there's support from recursive IO.
Yeah.
Jeff, dude, he's got his hands in everything these days, dude.
Jeff's the man, dude. He's killing it out here.
He is killing it. So I guess we're gonna wait and see. Well, once these army pieces are like ready for distribution,
Yeah.
I think we should have like a real time skirmish.
Oh, okay.
Me and you.
You want to lose? That's what you're saying.
Or I don't know, dude. I mean,
I think you're gonna lose, dude.
I'm not sure how the dynamics of the game work. I think it's like everybody's kind of like participating in this war.
Oh, I see.
So I think we're both gonna lose. We're gonna get swallowed at some point.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, we got another one. This game will go live in 2024. Waiting for the announcement in January, February.
Yeah.
Bitmap Empires. Yeah, I remember these guys.
More gameplay visions coming to life, utilizing Bitmap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this looks very like reminiscent to a nostalgic RTS style type experience. So
yep.
Not sure exactly how this is going to be like.
It's like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Looks kind of like gives off those kind of vibes.
Man, I played the shit out of that game.
Did you?
I did.
All of them?
I was like torturing all the humans.
What the fuck, dude?
You didn't do that?
Did I?
Yeah, you just like I did drop them in the pond and then
I like
back
intentionally
up.
made those coasters that like went off the tracks and like they would fly into the pond or something. Yeah. Dude, we're fucking psychos. All right, let's move on.
All right, next. Oh, yeah. So an update from Genie Data. They created
That's Genie Data.
Yeah, but did this guy create it, Poshi? I don't know.
I believe, Genie Data, it's an open platform for anybody to contribute these types of dashboards, right?
Yeah, correct. So we got a dashboard for Bitmap. And we got the supply of bitmaps, the total parcel supply, 949 million. That's almost a billion parcels, dude.
Almost a parcel per human. Almost. I did a quick Google search after seeing that. I was like, how many websites exist after what, like 30 years, 40 years of internet proliferation? It's roughly 2 billion.
Huh.
So already we're
halfway there.
We have half of the spatial requirements, I guess.
That's right.
The dimensional requirements to host like all of the human bandwidth of like web space, I guess.
Of the 3D web
space. Of the 3D space.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's going to take another, 15 years?
Yeah.
For Bitcoin to kind of like supply the rest.
Yeah. That's
perfect. Interesting. It is perfect. There's plenty of digital real estate to go around. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what's so cool about this. All right, so we got the bitmap holders. So the little bit of discrepancy, right? It was like 31.6 on Magic Eden.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, nonetheless, about the same.
I think I trust Genie Data's indexing a little bit more for some reason. I mean, this is what they do.
Yeah.
I really like Genie Data as a platform for sure.
Oh, I know what it was.
Oh, wait. Or is this the individual Poshi guy? Is he indexing this?
I think it is. But I think Genie Data shows cursed bitmaps. And that's where the 31.6 comes from.
You mean Magic Eden shows cursed bitmaps?
Yeah. What did I say? Genie Data?
Genie Data.
Okay, no, Magic Eden.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, there lies your discrepancy, right?
Mm-hmm. And then, so I want to talk about this. Bitmap unique holders, 3.8%. So basically, how do you get this number? 31,339 over 825,000. You get that.
Okay. So we've been asked this before, like on little, like
on Twitter Spaces
and such. It's like, is that going to have like an important, I don't know, like, is this a potential notch or knock at like the ecosystem? Is it too non-distributed? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a valid question. I just don't know if it matters. I mean, it took a month for Bitmap to block out.
Mm-hmm.
So a month in the grand scheme of things is nothing. So it basically blocked out instantaneously in a relative sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not great, but I don't know if it really hinders anything.
Yeah.
It just means that these holders would sell at the right price, and that's all that means. And the right price will come later, according to what this number tells me.
Yeah. I guess it's always concerning from like a tokenomics perspective, right? It's just, you don't want a large concentration of the supply in any single.
Well, it's in 31,000 hands.
Correct.
The whole supply is within 31,000 people.
Yeah, and I think there is no single one out of those 31,000 that has like more than 1 or 2%, I think.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
Something like that. So
max.
it is actually pretty well distributed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's fucking BRC20 tokens out there literally with like 40% in the single entity's hands. Ordi token.
Well, that's because, I mean, did you see my explanation?
Well, a centralized exchange, right? It's
Yeah.
been like accumulating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, do with that information what you will. I mean, this is how crypto operates, right? Like centralized exchanges tend to have very large bags, right?
Yeah. But I don't think they're not going to dump, right? Because they're
they have every incentive not to, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's different than if you're minting it all to one address, then then you're liable for a dumping there.
Yeah. Probability increases.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, moving on. All right, so bitmap.community update. This is so cool. Their website got updated.
It's beautiful.
Way better.
It's gorgeous, actually.
Yeah, it's great.
So we talked about them recently on a Twitter space as well. People are discovering bitmaps, obviously, and we've been kind of like pulled to the forefront.
Yeah.
Trying to like explain what the hell's going on with this thing. And, people were like asking all these things like, what makes bitmaps unique and interesting and collectible and all this stuff. Obviously, I mean, if you understand the robustness of data within these blocks, and Bitmap community done such a good job of architecting a narrative around these things with the block tributes and built a whole vision of the ecosystem, right? The value of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and these are like, these images weren't built by technically it was built by one guy.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what's his name? The astronaut guy.
Astronaut guy?
Yeah, bitfeed.live. Mononaut.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you mean? Like the actual visuals?
Yeah,
here?
well, yeah, what I was trying to say is like this isn't somebody's like, arbitrary like rendering just out of thin air.
Well, I don't think all these block tributes are purely like aesthetic, right? Some of these are based on data components, right? Like the Billionaire Club is like, oh, is there $1 billion in
correct
transaction weight here? Oh, there is. That is a unique property to this block.
Mm-hmm,
right? Mm-hmm. This is things like this. So that adds to the value narrative, like where you can identify value in these assets. So shout out to bitmap.community continuing to deploy his data engineering like expertise.
Yeah, flexing on everybody, dude.
I know, right?
All right. Speaking about flexing, Inscribe.space is flexing their metaverse. Bitmap Land, play update, multiplayers, connect wallet, view your bitmaps and avatars in-game map.
Yeah, we did a lot of exploration like over the last few days in Inscribe.space. We looked at a bunch of like the OG like constructs, remember?
Mm-hmm.
They put out like the builder tools and
oh yeah, we had some fun like running around in one of the worlds there.
Yeah, because we're about to get into this conversation. Like we're identifying this tremendous dilemma, especially if you're in like the Bitmap developer space. So like, dude, the whole on-chain versus off-chain of 3D assets and such is it's like
it's a big problem.
It's a big barrier.
Yeah,
because the Inscribe.space has gone like the full on-chain route. Like all those 3D constructs are inscribable.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're like, hey. So let's look at metavoxels here.
Yeah, metavoxels, they have another
3D assets.
Another 3D asset presenting bitmap pre-bud number 2.
Mm.
And if you remember, they built this 3D asset
about a week ago or something, deployed it on Jeff's BRC 420 marketplace.
It minted out. I think this guy generated about $100,000 or so.
50 to 100,000, something like that.
Yeah.
In royalty payments, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then you did like a cost analysis. Like, how much did it cost to inscribe that 3D model?
$825.
Yeah, dude. And if you don't know about our past, we are like, we have a 3D user-generated marketplace called MetaZone, where the cost to upload these and create these into tokenized assets applications
is $0.
Yeah. So we're like, what the fuck? How is this going to work?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting new dilemma.
Yeah, and really the question is, do we put all assets on Bitcoin, such as these 3D models, which they're fairly basic, right? The geometry is very basic.
It's low poly because it has to be.
Yeah, because if you make it higher poly, you're breaching the like huge expenses here.
Yeah, you're talking like potentially tens of thousands of dollars for a single asset, so that your barrier for participation as like a 3D modeler or asset developer, whatever.
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, because you're taking a tremendous financial risk to even like try and contribute.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's been like our historical like purpose is always to try and find ways to increase like creator adoption in the metaverse space, right? And how do we get more creators creating cool stuff?
Yeah.
And damn, dude, we ran into another major wall here.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah.
And we don't really know, the best way to do it. Obviously, you have recursive reconstruction of an asset, of a 3D model.
Yeah.
But that won't necessarily apply for every single thing.
Mm.
And even if you were trying to do like an Unreal asset with like high resolution textures and all that, to recursively do that, it will still be very expensive because the texture, like a high resolution texture uploaded to Bitcoin, is still going to be expensive. Yeah. I showed you an image that was 7 megabytes.
It was literally like an icon, right?
It was just an icon.
A 3D icon.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like what it costs like 10 G's or something like that to inscribe. You're like, fuck. So this is going to be like the next decision for the invisible hand of this, specifically the Bitmap market, right?
Yeah. So I mean, do we leverage off-chain
at some point we're going to have to.
Yeah.
It's like an absolute guarantee.
I feel like there is no other option.
Unless we just want like Bitmap's metaverse presence to be like a 2D space.
Yeah, or just like extremely low poly.
Extremely low poly. You're not really going to inspire any mainstream attention potentially.
And there's markets for that. Some people want completely on-chain stuff, and as a result, you're going to play in the low poly area zone.
Yeah. And
then some people want more of a higher fidelity experience, and they're going to take advantage of off-chain storage.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, the ownership layer is going to exist on Bitcoin for these assets and such.
100%, yeah.
And even like if these assets become more robust and functional over time, which they will, a lot of the execution logic and such can be also on-chain.
It can be on-chain, yes.
Yeah, we've seen this, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Inscribe.space, Recursiverse, Metavoxels, they're doing everything on-chain, and that's how you're supposed to start. And you can look at the code, the HTML code to render this stuff, all on-chain. And so to update the code, all you do is reinscribe it. You update the code. You have a new SAT endpoint, and you got an updated code.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is something we're going to be talking about a lot into the future because, I mean, this is our space, right?
Yeah. All right. So we got another topic. There's so many things to talk about on Bitmap, and this one being one of the most interesting ones, I think.
I would say so.
So
I think another invisible hand moment here for the market to. So yeah.
So let's go back in time. November 14th, Recursiverse, they tweet out wrapped map. If you don't know what that is, I will share this tweet. Take a look at it. So it's basically saying bitmaps, send them to an address, and whatever that bitmap is, we're just going to return to you 1,000 wrapped map tokens. And then that's how we're going to provide liquidity. And so it could be leveraged, for the entire Bitmap community and blah, blah, blah. So of course there's some problems with this, right? 1.bitmap, it's not good to trade 1.bitmap for 1,000 of these wrap map tokens.
Correct.
Right? So you're not going to do that. And then the billionaire bitmaps and like all these like rare, they don't apply to something like this. So how do you take advantage of a fungible token, which in history's sake, right, fungible tokens have more liquidity than non-fungible tokens?
Yes. I mean, just look at the
market caps.
Yeah, I mean, I think like overall, the whole NFT market's probably like 50 billion
at most. At most, the top market cap holder is like 1.1 billion.
Yeah, yeah. So it's probably even like significantly lower than that.
I mean, that doesn't even break like top 60 cryptocurrencies or so.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, obviously the fungible token environment is provably much more like liquid rich and such. So there's a lot of utility of that. It can be applied in many different ways, especially in like decentralized finance and such.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a viable thesis to conclude at some point. Part of the Bitmap economy is going to be very much, I guess, like the value support, the underpinning of that economy is going to come from fungible tokens. Yeah, it has to.
And so wrap map and Recursiverse, they come up with a solution for the potential liquidity of bitmaps. BMP is another one. BMP did a airdrop to all Bitmap holders.
Yeah, this has been an open claim for how many months? Like at least several months.
Yeah, at least 3, maybe 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, this webpage right here has been available if you owned a bitmap to just kind of like check your status, how many of these, because there is like an allocation scheme here.
Yeah, sub 817,000 bitmaps. So not even the new bitmaps qualify here, right? It's under 817,000. We're at current 824.
Okay.
Right. So sub 817, you get 1,000 BMP tokens. Sub 100K, you get 2,000. And sub 10K, you get 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an arbitrary number. Someone came up with a number out of their head. This is another number out of their head.
Mm-hmm.
And then they created this website that says connect your wallet and mint these tokens if you hold a bitmap.
Yeah.
And it's one transaction and you get all the tokens.
Yeah.
And so this is another attempt at providing the liquidity version of a bitmap.
Yeah, and I think if you go to the bottom, so this one had some pretty significant participation of roughly 90% has been distributed.
So 90% of the tokens
claimed.
have been distributed, but there's only like about 10,000 holders, and there's 30,000 bitmap holders.
Mm-hmm.
So there's discrepancy there. How do you claim 90%? Unless the 10% of bitmap holders hold more of the bitmaps than the bottom 90%.
It would make sense. They have a bigger incentive to kind of do this claim because they have more bitmap, right?
No, the 10%. so hold on. 90% of the tokens have been claimed.
Uh-huh.
But there's only 10,000 holders.
Right.
Where are the 20,000, the rest of the 20,000 holders?
Well, they're holding like, dust amounts of bitmaps, so they're not like as incentivized to come and claim, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because the ones who had the biggest incentive, they have a large percentage to claim.
Okay, yeah, right.
So that's where that discrepancy comes from.
Right.
Know?
So,
yeah, it makes sense.
And naturally, anytime there's an airdrop, not everybody's going to claim it. So
that too, yeah.
That's a sort of expected.
Yeah, but the big question in the room has always been, and the reason why we didn't really like discuss BNP over these last few months is because there wasn't enough clarity and enough certainty, like that whatever the remaining supply ended up being, which is now we're in that remaining supply era.
Mm-hmm.
Like this thing is, I think, no longer claimable from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Like the claim period is over. So like this is the final token distribution, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could still claim.
Maybe it is, but I mean, it was allegedly supposed to be done like at New Year's, right there.
Yeah, it says New Year's, but if you look at their Twitter account, it says it's still open for like the next 7 days after this date. So,
right.
I mean, it's all like just arbitrary.
That's the point. Is we didn't have enough. There wasn't enough certainty whether or not this was actually going to be.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, and
secure.
And the other thing is like all the tokens were sent to a single address. They minted it to themselves. They created this website. It says, I'll give you my tokens that I hold in my wallet as long as you show me your bitmaps and I'll send them to you. I mean, that's essentially what's happening.
Yeah, you pay the fees and then I'll send them to you.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. All right, so then there's another alternative. It's called block drops, right? We did that one with NATs. And so it's a BMT token, right?
Yeah.
It's the bitmap token for non-arbitrary token block drop.
Yes.
And so everyone with a bitmap can claim a BMT token on mscribe.
Mm-hmm.
And on mscribe, you'll be able to inscribe a child version of the BMT token.
Mm-hmm.
And you can inscribe this well into the future, right? 1,000 years from now, if Bitmap is still alive, you can still go to any website that supports parent-child inscriptions, and they can generate your BMT token for your bitmap 1,000 years from now.
Yeah.
And you don't have to depend on mscribe or anything. You just use a website that supports these functionalities and you can own it.
So what is the interface that needs to be present? It's literally just, so this is a 2-transaction step process, right?
Yeah, and that's because that's how the protocol was built by Casey.
Parent-child.
Parent-child, yeah.
So is this one of the things that was activated by the Jubilee or
no,
supported,
so
like officially supported?
Parent-child has been in support for a while, but bulk parent-child. So basically a multi-transaction output for a child from a parent. So you can have multiple children from a single parent in one transaction.
Interesting, which is going to be pretty relevant into the future of like this is like a replicable distribution mechanism, right? They're called block drops.
Correct. Yeah,
so
anybody can generate a block drop token for the Bitmap community. And so
Right.
we generated BMT just to showcase that it's possible,
Mhm.
but we're not saying BMT is going to be the one that represents all the bitmap. I feel like the community is going to come up with a better token to represent bitmap from a block drop token because all of us holders have it, right?
Yeah,
and we're the only ones who could generate them.
correct. Yeah, by creating this, for one, the standard, the protocol standard of non-arbitrary tokens, and then the framework of how you do this distribution mechanism, which is, again, like hands off. You don't need to rely on like a centralized authority, basically.
Dude, this is like, it's perfect.
Right. And so the BMT token, it's just to put the mechanism out there and to kind of like showcase how this can be utilized for as representative as an ecosystem token, because it is equitably distributed just, to all bitmaps.
Yeah,
out there.
From 1.bitmap all the way to infinity.bitmap.
Yeah, there's a small discrepancy as far as like, because it's referring to the bits field, which not every block has the same exact number of bits, which is the data component that determines like your supply of this token, right?
Correct.
Like the actual unit of account. So but it's largely like pretty homogeneous, like it's pretty well spread.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, the early bitmap or the early blocks have more bits than the later blocks, right?
Yeah.
The later blocks are more difficult. Therefore, there's more zeros in a hash to mine it, and more zeros is less data, therefore less bits.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So, but like that, again, to say this mechanism can be utilized for who knows how many different purposes or utility propositions, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is why we're introducing all these new tools, right? Because now I can theorize these different games that are starting to build on Bitmap and such. They're gonna need digital commodities within their games and such.
Yeah, 100%.
So now there's a way to kind of like inject these native resources like to Bitmap owners.
Yeah, imagine if Bitmap
directly.
Empires, right? They're like, all right, we're going to do a block drop token. Anyone who holds a bitmap will automatically get this token.
Yeah.
Now use this token to access components of my game, right? Use that to build out your empire.
Yeah.
Right? And like you have a real functioning token economy right off the bat.
Yeah, or if you want to create some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of like treasure hunt type experience or game or ecosystem around Bitmap, you don't want every Bitmap to have this resource, right? You want to have like some sort of like hunt component to this, right?
That's right.
You want to actually discover, this Bitmap has this digital commodity, this one does not.
That's
so
right.
therefore, I need to identify a pattern that can exist in some Bitmaps that won't exist in others.
Yeah.
I have now done that by registering this element and then using this mechanism to distribute that commodity.
Yeah.
Right. And then I get to come and see, hey, does my bitmap have this commodity or does it not? Oh, it does.
Great.
Eureka.
If it doesn't, well, sucks
I can
to
now
hold that bitmap, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But now I can batch inscribe this and they all become children of my bitmap. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, children, yeah. Yeah, so it's important to see that on-chain provenance because now in the future, when new M scribes are built by other people, 1,000 years from now, they can look at on-chain data and they can see where everything came from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all on-chain. It's all provenance there, right? It's important to design things in this way because it supports everything now and into the future.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going past the time limit here. So last couple of things to kind of mention.
Yeah, so Tim Cook, finally, we're going to get the Vision Pro on February 2nd.
That's like less than a month away, dude.
It is.
So we're probably going to do like a whole unbox. Well,
I don't know about unboxing, but
that's true.
We might.
Of some sort of like reaction, because this is a big deal. If you aren't aware of like Apple corporations, I don't know how, but this is like a big company. They hold a lot of like technical prowess in this universe, right? So the fact that they are like putting out this flagship product, it has direct more impact to your bitmaps, I think, than you realize.
Yeah,
I
agree. I'm expecting to be blown away by this thing. I have high expectations, so I'm more likely to be disappointed by this device.
Yeah, because your expectations are really, really high. But
yeah, because I understand like the technical specs and the resolution of each eye. I was like, I'm impressed, and I'm very curious as to like how this is going to look.
Yeah, but this is an opportunity, I guess, for kind of like big tech to kind of reinforce this sentiment that the metaverse is like an inevitability, kind of like AI.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, OpenAI releases their Chat GPT. Now everybody's like well aware AI is like going to become.
Now there's so many Chat GPTs out there, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so this has that potential, like another inflection moment in like the historical trajectory of the metaverse space, right? So that has very big ramifications on the Bitmap ecosystem.
Yeah, agreed.
You know?
Speaking about ramifications, join us for the Day in the Swamp, February 2024. We got the other side. We got a ton of these Bored Apes.
Yeah, remember that metaverse that Bitmap has
overtaken,
like by a large margin.
Yeah,
here they are, dude. I mean, they've raised hundreds of millions of dollars in this land distribution event.
Yep,
a couple years ago, whatever. And this is it, dude. Like again, another inflection moment to kind of, is this going to up or down the sentiment of this, you know?
Yeah.
This digital metaverse economy, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So we got the arbitrary metaverse and the non-arbitrary metaverse.
Yeah. Speaking of 3D dilemma, dude, how much would it cost to put that on chain?
Yeah. $15 million easy.
Billion. Like all these.
Billion. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So yeah, we got a lot of work to do, Bitmap community.
Yeah, we do.
We got a lot of work to do.
All right, guys, that's it for us. If we miss anything, let us know in the comment section below. Make sure you follow us on our Twitter account, and appreciate you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.